Hi everybody, my name is Molly Mann. I am a textile designer based in Sussex and I am also a mother of three. I have got up very early this morning and walked down through the woods. I live in the lovely Ashdown Forest, collecting leaves as I go because this morning I'm making a little video about how you can do a potato print specifically and especially for the lovely brand Oskia. So welcome everybody, thank you for coming. Now you may ask why a beauty brand is asking a textile designer to show you how to do a potato print. Well, the reason is this: printing, and specifically block printing, is very calming and soothing, and we can look after our body by looking after our skin and our outside, and we can feed ourselves super well as well, and we can take exercise and we can do all these amazing things to look after ourselves. But one thing that I think often gets forgotten is creativity. We are born creative, and it's really vital that we remember that and that we take time in our busy, hectic life schedules to allow space for that. And I have found over the years that block printing specifically is incredibly soothing for the mind. It's helped me through a number of occasions, and ever since I started doing workshops with people who are interested in block printing, I found that not only were they going home with a beautifully made cushion cover or tablecloth, but they were going away with a sense of calm and a sense of grounding. And so it became very clear to me that creativity in a number of different ways, but specifically block printing, is very nourishing for the soul. So welcome. Hopefully you are going to watch this and then go away and do it at your kitchen table. I'm going to give you a few little tips and tricks along the way to make it super easy and joyful, and you're going to feel a real sense of achievement. So let's begin. So the first thing you need, obviously, is inspiration. What are you going to print? Well, I have three very strong influences in my fabric collections. One of them is India. I travel there and I work with block printers, and India has become an enormous place of colour inspiration and design inspiration. It's just the most thrilling, vibrant, wonderful place, and so whenever I'm there my notebook gets more and more full. I also live up the road from Charleston Farmhouse, which was home to some of the Bloomsbury group, if you know about Vanessa Bell, and her sister Virginia Woolf lived just down the road. Charleston Farmhouse is the most wonderfully decorated Georgian farmhouse in the middle of the rolling Sussex Downs. They didn't stop when they were decorating the home. Their walls are painted, fireplaces are painted, they printed their fabrics, they sewed cushions, they wove their own rugs. Every element of the house there is decorative, and it's so inspiring. And for me, they created the kind of home that I would want to live in. It's full of life, it's full of their story, and I am endlessly inspired whenever I visit there, and I hold workshops there as well. So that's another wonderful source. But I would say my main source of inspiration is nature. We, again, are very lucky to be living here in the forest and surrounded by nature. It's never more present in my mind than at this time of year, and certainly with this lockdown, I definitely feel I'm looking more than I might have done in the past, much less rushing around and a lot more walking in the forest with the children. So on my way down here, I have filled my basket, very naughtily I'm afraid, I did pick some, with various things from my garden, from this beautiful rose that a girlfriend gave me, beech leaves, lemon balm, the wonderful mighty oak. I live under oak trees. It's such a lovely pattern. We have a lovely oak fabric. I can show you actually. This is hand block printed in India. This is my oak leaf fabric. Okay. I've got very bright pink azaleas. That's not so native to the UK, but actually they originate from the Himalayas, and so I really love that they happen to be in my garden and connect me to India, and actually very bright pinks, but they go well when my marigolds come out, which are bright oranges. The forest is very old and ancient and full of ferns, and again I've used the ferns in some of my designs. Here's one of our wallpapers. Really simple. I literally drew around a fern I collected on a walk one day, and that has been turned into one of our best-selling wallpaper prints. All of my designs start as little drawings, and then they develop into the wooden blocks, either carved in India, or if I've carved them here, I carve into lino, and then we develop it from there. As much as we can now is hand block printed. I'm printing less myself, but we work with incredible people in India, and otherwise we have them printed digitally in North England, and that's how our wallpapers and things done. But it all starts with a drawing. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do is go outside, find yourself a pretty leaf. You could start with a flower, it's harder to do, but find yourself a pretty leaf. I've actually chosen this azalea leaf because it's a rather lovely shape. So I've taken my little leaf, and on a scrap piece of paper, I'm placing it down, and I'm going to just draw around the edge. I'm just going to take the shape. Often my designs actually start in a very basic, simplistic form. I'm not a botanical artist, and actually the end result I find is very simple and pleasing, and it prints really well. So there we go, on my scruffy bit of paper I've drawn my little leaf with a piece of tracing paper. I'm then going to take a tracing, and that is what I'm going to now apply to my potato. Now, block printing originated in China and then has been strong and prevalent in India for thousands and thousands of years, and it's a wonderful art form. And again, I've always printed with these little wooden blocks here, and when I go on workshops, this is what I take with me. We have endless, we've got hundreds and hundreds of them now. And it's during this lockdown period I realised that, well, one, I had to cancel my workshops, that people weren't going to be able to access these wooden blocks like I can, and I wanted people to be able to print. I wanted people to be able to give some other form of entertainment to their children. And this potato printing is accessible for anyone, aged 3 up to 103. And so it made me realise, and took me back to my school days, you can create a very good print with a potato. So I dug around in my vegetable drawer of my fridge, and I pulled out a few old potatoes. Any potato will do, any size, any shape. I rather like these great big bakers because you've got nice surface space. So when I cut my potato, rather than cutting it across the middle, which you might do if you were sort of boiling it or cooking or something, I sliced down on the length. So I've got this lovely flat work surface to go with. And I'm then going to put my tracing onto my potato. Now, pencil doesn't always go onto the potato, and actually give it a little wipe with the cloth first. It sort of ekes liquid to start with, but it soon stops. And then, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to mark the potato as best I can. The joy of block printing is embracing what we call perfect imperfections. This is not something that's going to be meticulously perfect or exact. Be free, allow your own stamp to make its mark. Don't worry too much. Often your drawing can look quite different to your finished print. So don't get too wound up, and go for something simple. If you've never done this before, go for a very simple little leaf to start with. Okay, so I've marked it on. Just going to draw around that again. Okay, like so. Just my guideline, really. You can always keep your drawing next to you to remind you how it's supposed to look. Now, the next important thing is you need a very sharp knife. So if there are any children following this, maybe just stop, check with your parents. It's okay for you to use a knife, or maybe ask mum or dad to do it for you, because I don't want to be responsible for any nasty accidents. So we're now going to look at how we carve that shape. So to start with, I'm actually going to just cut inwards, a little cut all the way around the potato, so that I'd say about ½ centimetre deep. Scoring, I suppose we call it, all the way around, because we're going to take away all the bit that we don't want to print. There we go. Now, using my knife, this is a fruit knife, it's rather good because it's got a very little pointy bit. I'm just going to cut round the outside of my leaf. I'm using my little pencil drawing, but I'm actually looking at the original drawing as well. Make sure I'm getting it right. Give it a little stem, not too thin, if it snaps. There we go. And then in a minute I'm going to take out a little centre bit of the leaf. Now, I want to cut away all this bit of potato on the outside of the leaf. So I'm going to work my way where I've scored it to where I've cut down. And slowly it comes away. Go carefully. Preparation is key. Take your time, enjoy this element. Don't worry about the printing bit yet. Just get your little print correct. So there's the first piece that's come away. It's going to keep working all the way around. Next bit away. While you're doing this, you can be thinking about what it is you want to print. I would definitely suggest start by printing on paper until you've got your eye in, until you've got your print correct. And then me and my children, we're madly printing paper. I think we've got so much wrapping paper ready for Christmas. That's one bonus. Print some cards. I have a little journal I'm keeping, and I'm trying to do one potato print a day, and hope that I can look back on this time with some degree of nostalgia. There we go. Otherwise, you might want to print some fabric, and then you could make up anything. You could be making up some cushions, new set of curtains, tea towels. We've got some kits actually that we're putting together that come with a really lovely cotton linen tea towel. They're launching on Wednesday, tomorrow. So that's exciting. And you'll get a pot of eco fabric paint in it. If you're printing on fabric, there's a few things you need to do differently. And that is, first of all, when you've got your piece of fabric, and you could use old linen sheets. I've been using up old linen sheets, belong to my grandmother, and then you can cut them up and make napkins or tea towels or anything from that. And linen is so nice to print on, especially if it's old and it's worn. So that's a really good idea. You do need to wash your fabric. It can kind of it can carry dirt and grease and things. So wash it as best you can. I use an eco powder rather than anything with bleach in it. So give it a good wash. Then obviously iron it, lay it out. And because the potato has a degree of give in it, you don't particularly need padding on your table, but I've got a piece of felt here, and it's just quite nice to maybe have an old blanket or a little thin towel or something underneath to give it a little bit more give. And then you lay your fabric out. If it's a big piece, try and pin it down so it's as flat as it can. And then it's really important that you print using an eco fabric paint. You wouldn't be able to print with normal poster paint or anything like that because it's just going to wash off if you wash it. So you need a kind of screen printing paint, or you can actually print with chalk paint, emulsion chalk paint, and it works really well. As long as you set it with a hot iron, you should be fine, and you can actually wash it. I've only just learnt that, and I'm experimenting with that. I use screen printing fabric paint. I'm just taking out a little bit in the middle here to show the centre piece of the leaf. So again, I'm scoring it. And then, this bit's much more tricky. I'm going to try and pick it out. Just takes a bit of going backwards and forwards with the knife. A few deep breaths. There we go, it's coming away. Nearly there. Take that bit out. There we go. There, so that's the most simple starting point for a block. Can you see? And you could do some more little veins coming off if you want. I tend to sort of start with it really simple, do a print or two and see how it looks. And then you can always still take out the veins, but once you've taken them out, obviously you can't put them back in. Now I'm actually going to chop away a few of the edges. because I don't need them. There we go. I have my printing block. Right, let's print with that and see how it goes. Piece of paper. Nice thick paper is really lovely to use. I have mixed up a fresh, hopefully a nice fresh spring green colour. Still at the end of spring. Again, this is the fabric paint I was talking about. So once I've printed this, if I was printing on fabric, I would then leave it to set and dry, and then I'd use a hot iron, a dry hot iron, to really set it to the fabric. And after I've done that, then I can start to wash it and everything, so it becomes permanent. There's nothing to stop you now on paper using emulsion tester pots or any kind of poster paint, anything you can get your hands on, to be honest. To start with, I raided my children's art cupboard and we experimented with all sorts of paints, anything prints with a potato, so there we go. Now, to apply the paint onto your potato, either use a paintbrush and you just paint it on, or I use these things, they're called stipplers. It's a little foam sponge on the end of a stick, they come in our kits. And then you can just dab it on, and you could cut a piece of sponge. There's nothing to stop you cutting a piece of your kitchen sponge. Okay, and you apply the paint all over, even surface. I know this sounds obvious. It's really important to remember that before each print, you always have to reapply the paint, so you get into this rhythm. And it's this rhythm that I think slows the mind down. It makes you concentrate, and it's the sort of concentrating and repeat print that we do that actually slows your heartbeat down and makes you feel calmer. So this is the good bit. Now, think about how you're going to lay the leaf out. There's so many different ways you could print this on the paper. You could do it randomly. You could start in the left-hand corner and work your way across. Think about the item that you're printing. Is it a napkin that sits on your lap and doesn't have a top or a bottom? Is it a print you're going to put on the wall? Just really think through the item and how you want it to be finished. I am going to start now just to show you a nice way of repeating it by doing the first print in the middle, so that I've got a nice sort of symmetry going on for when I finish. So I'm going to look right over the top of my potato, and I use the sides of my hands to kind of balance and make sure I'm in the right place. And then once I've decided, I commit. I push it down, I give it a firm push down, and equally I pick it up, and away we go. We've got a sweet little leaf. And this is where one goes quiet, stops talking, and just prints. Load up the paint, think about the placement, commit and print. Let all your worries drift away. I've done the first line. Now with the second line, I could put them directly underneath, but it would look very grid-like and rigid. So what I like to do is shift it along. It's called a half drop repeat. Fill in that gap a little bit there. And then you can start going from left to right now, because you've got your placements. This would make really lovely summer napkins. Oskia used such lovely natural ingredients, and so it was a really perfect pairing to my inspirations of nature and everything else. And here we go. Before you know it, you could be printing your walls, up your stairs, or creating your own wallpaper. I have a lovely little leaf print. I'll just finish with one of my wallpapers. Here we go. This is exactly the same thing. I drew around a leaf, and we've created this really pretty little repeat print that is one of our wallpapers my son has in his bedroom. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope you get your potatoes out and find some paint. If you really can't find any paint, my last little tip, and again, it's so nice because it's completely natural, is boil some beetroot, and when you strain off the juice, keep it. It's quite liquid, so be careful, only put a very fine layer onto your potato, but you get this most beautiful purple print. You wouldn't be able to do it on fabric, it's fugitive, it wouldn't stay purple, but you can print on paper. And the other thing you could use is turmeric. So this is turmeric powder mixed with a bit of water. Again, it's the most delicious yellow natural colour to print with. It doesn't matter if your children get it all over them, it will come out eventually. When you print with it, the finished result looks a little grainy. Let it dry, and using a dry brush, just brush the grains off, and you're left with the most lovely turmeric colour. So that's quite fun. I'm really experimenting with natural colours that we can find in our kitchen. And yes, happy printing. Please share your work. My feed is Molly Marm Block Printing. If you send it to me, we're sharing it. I'm really enjoying the community of everybody's printing. And otherwise send it to Oskia as well, and maybe they can share them as well. But go and pick some leaves or pick some off the ground and draw around them and carve carefully into your potato and have a lovely time, rhythmically, calm, no music, phones off, printing. Okay guys, bye.